So your mortgage rates are not going up this month. Good news. But they still could go higher. And certainly plenty of us are hurting, especially those still coming off fixed rate periods. But how about your electricity bills? How are you coping with them? They've jumped another 25 to 30% in most of the country just this week, after similar increases last year. And experts predict they'll double again over coming years. Which means those of us who were sceptical about Labor's climate and energy policies and their pre-election power price promises, well, we're feeling vindicated, if not amused.
Reducing power prices by $275.
By 2025, $275 a year.
$275. $275 a year. $275. $275 a year. $275. $275 a year.
We'll get power prices down by $275 a year.
Imagine falling for that garbage. Now, I couldn't help but notice that on the national broadcaster last night, the ABC, they focused on our energy price crisis. But they couldn't bring themselves to mention that $275 pledge, and they blamed the price hikes on everything from the Ukraine war to inflation to old coal plants. They blamed everything except the main cause, our attempted trillion-dollar transition to renewable energy. Still, the ABC did ask the Climate and Energy Minister to repeat his promise about lowering power prices. Watch how he tries to answer a completely different question.
You campaigned on a promise of lowering electricity prices by 2025. Are you prepared to repeat that commitment and promise here?
Certainly. We were elected with a mandate to increase the proportion of renewables in our electricity grid.
What about the commitment to lower prices by 2025?
Well, as I said, we're not walking away from our commitment to get more renewables into the system. And yes, they are the cheapest form of energy available, the cheapest form of energy that's ever been available.
The cheapest form of energy that's ever been available. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Because it is. Now, I'll probably never get an interview with Chris Bowen ever again, because I would point out to him that so far, the more we've invested in renewables, the more expensive our electricity has become, and less reliable too. Also, he promised a price cut of $275, yet they've gone up by double that. And now he only wants to talk about his promises to deliver more renewables. The very investment, the costly transition that's driving up the prices. It is madness. It will get worse and we'll all pay. Listen to Bowen again on the prospect of future price rises.
Well, let's see what happens in Ukraine and Russia. Let's see what happens across the board. Clearly, as we've said, we acknowledge that we will need to continue to work with Australians to take the pressure off power price rises.
Let's see what will happen in Ukraine and Russia. He's still trying to blame a war in Eastern Europe for his energy chaos. Here's a graph of European gas prices. See how they shot up last year because of the war in Ukraine and the disruption to Russian supplies. And see also how this year they've come back below where they were before the Russian invasion. So it's time to dispense with that lazy excuse repeated by so many in the media. Anthony Albanese and Chris Bowen own our energy crisis. It's driven by the transition to renewables, the destruction of reliable and affordable generation as well, and their ideological obsession with net zero. However high our power prices rise, no one can claim it comes as a shock.